Want to go far in business and in life? You can't do it alone. The secret is expanding your network of personal relationships, building friendships, connecting on an intimate level, away from the office, over a coffee or cocktail. Welcome to All In with the real Nate Payo. The show that asks what happens when you go all in and leverage the power of your network of personal relationships.
From author Donnie Bovine comes the book, How to Be a Success Champion, available on Amazon. After years of living other people's dreams, author Donnie Bovine decided to jump out on his own and start a business, thinking it would be easy. Instead, he had a rude awakening and quickly understood that he had spent 20 years being an employee and had no idea how to be a business owner. His business was tanking, and he was on the brink of losing everything when he decided to fight for business freedom. In this must-read and life-changing book, author Donnie Bovine shares with readers his story intermingled with lessons learned from his mistakes and his failures. In How to Be a Success Champion, you will find advice the author received from mentors and how he went from zero to a six-figure business. The author walks you through the steps of how to get out of your own way, how to play the game of business and win, find your strengths, how to network effectively, how to build a personal brand, how to create champions for your business, how to get great at sales, how to take complete ownership of you and your business. How to Be a Success Champion from author Donnie Bovine, available on Amazon in both Kindle and paperback editions. Order your copy right now. It makes a great book for corporate events too. How to Be a Success Champion from author Donnie Bovine, available on Amazon.
Hello. Welcome to the All In podcast with Nate Payo. Of course, I'm your host, Nate Payo. My guest today is Jana Short. Jana is a renowned global influencer in the health and wellness industry, a mindset coach, NLP and RTT practitioner, best-selling author, public speaker, Oh My Health, There Is Hope, podcast host, and Best Holistic Life magazine editor. Jana works creating online global influencers, teaching her clients to not only remove blocks that are holding them back, but how to start that love affair with your potential online clients. She has recently been recognized and featured in Monica Garg's Influential Women of the World Global Influencers 2020, Las Vegas Entrepreneurs Magazine's Top 25 Entrepreneurs for 2020 issue, and the cover of December's Best Holistic Life magazine. Welcome to the show. How are you?
That was a lot. Thank you. I'm great.
I forgot the last line that you're getting the message of hope out into the world in a huge way and changing the world one health expert at a time. So I want to make sure we got that in. So super excited to have you on my show. I got to be a guest on your show and had an amazing conversation. And now we get to hear your side of things.
I know. I absolutely love your podcast. I'm a huge fan. So thanks for having me.
Well, that's real special to me hearing those words from you. So I like to ask to break the ice with everybody. What is your take on the word luck? What does luck mean to you?
So it sounds like a good word, right? And I'm a mindset coach, so I try to find the good in any word. But here's the thing. I've worked really hard at getting some of the places I've gotten to. And I hear all the time people say, oh, you got lucky. You're that person, you got lucky. And you know what? It wasn't luck. It was a lot of hard work. So I don't really believe in luck. Like, am I luckily going to win the lottery? Probably not. But if I work hard enough, could I be as successful as someone who maybe won the lottery in their mind, right? So as far as the word luck goes, I like the word luck, but I want you guys to remember that it's really a whole lot of hard work. Somebody didn't just get lucky and create an empire. They sacrificed a lot. They worked a lot. They sacrificed family, time. So that's kind of what I think about the word luck.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I think people say like, oh, you got lucky in a negative connotation. But at the same time, like you said, this is what I do. I'm really lucky that I'm able to do the things I'm passionate about. But at the same time, you put yourself on the path to discover that luck, the hard work and figuring out where it's going to go instead of like letting life happen to you. You're choosing the path of your own destiny, and it just so happened to take you exactly right where you wanted to be.
100%.
Awesome. So how long have you been a mindset coach, and what brought you to this path in your life? Why were you drawn to help others?
So I've been a mindset coach now for 8 years, but 10 years ago, I was an interior designer. I was a really famous interior designer in Los Angeles, and I love design. I did not love working with people. Try working with a husband and wife who can't agree on anything and do your job, right? So I got sick, though. I got really sick, and I ended up having to have my stomach removed. And you would be eating through a PICC line, and that is all synthetic. And what happened to me was my body rejected that and said, nope, it's not real, and I'm not taking it. So my organs started to shut down. So after 2 months in the hospital, I was sent home to die. And all I have is a pharmaceutical medical background. My husband's a veterinarian. My ex is an internist. My daughters are all, in medical, pharmaceutical parts of medicine, Western medicine. And so I came home to die after 2 months in the hospital. But here's the thing about mindset. I had a brand new grandbaby. He was 8 weeks old, I think. And my daughter brought him for me to see. I was there when he was born, and then I went for my surgery a few days later, so I had no interaction with him. Mm-hmm. But I was holding him, and let me tell you, I realized at that moment that he would not have one memory of me. If I died in the next few weeks, he was not going to know how I smelled, how I laughed, how I felt when I held him, or how much I loved him. And there was a mindset shift in me that thought, I'm going to create a memory. It wasn't that I was going to live until now, for sure, because I was told that wasn't possible. Mm-hmm. And I got on the computer and I literally started typing in the words, I'm desperate for health answers. And I was looking for something that was out of the norm that could possibly help me. Well, I took that same grandbaby on a trip to make a memory. And it wasn't like a big fancy trip. We were in a car because I was too sick to fly. And we went to see some family, and he had colic. He was miserable. He was so miserable for that car ride. And he never stopped screaming. And somebody put something on his belly. They asked if they could put lavender essential oil on his belly. And I was like, well, it smells good. What is that? But here's the thing. Within a few minutes of them rubbing that on his belly, I watched that little 2.5-month-old relax. Like his arms fell back. He stopped sobbing. He wasn't like struggling for breath because he was hurting. And I was like, he can't fake that. I wonder if something like that could help me. And I started searching for natural options to get healthy. And it changed my life. And the more I learned, the more I wanted to get out there and share with people, because I consider myself a pretty educated woman. And I knew nothing about this stuff. Like it had just been dropped on the planet in front of me, but it's been here for centuries. So I got out there and started learning and became a coach. And when I became a coach, I realized that I was running into the same sort of thing. People not trusting, not understanding. And I wanted to not make them healthy because that was their journey, but I wanted them to understand that mindset change of, I did not cure myself. I did not grow my stomach back. Nothing's really changed in my physical world except for my mindset. I have decided, it doesn't matter if I'm here a week or 50 more years, that I was going to be creating memories in every single moment that I was here. That was what was important. And doing that just created this huge bubble around me of sending out the message of hope and sending that ripple effect out into the world that creates this incredible change. And I became so passionate about it that I never went back to interior design. And I don't have to listen to people calling me at 3 a.m. anymore saying, oh, that color could use 2 shades of green and maybe 1 of blue and another dab of yellow, like it's 2 a.m. And by the way, that was an actual call. So it happened.
Yeah. So, I've been in the real estate development world for most of my career, and I can attest to the people that are challenging. And the thing is like you'll meet people that are great and they're awesome, and the majority of people are really pleasant to work with, and then you have like a few that just really get into your heart and soul and just make life miserable. And I think you beat yourself up about it. And like you said, like you have a choice of like, hey, how am I going to live the rest of my life out? And do I want to be miserable in a painful thing, or find something I'm passionate about and share that with the world? Not just like, hey, let me change your life, but let me talk to you about what I'm passionate about. And if it resonates with you, learn from me, learn from my experience, and make it your own. And you could make people's lives better and choose who you get to work with in a more uplifting spirit. So I think that was, amazing epiphany that you discovered and pursued.
It's been amazing. It's so fulfilling to look in the eyes of somebody who literally had no hope. And all of a sudden something changes in them, and it doesn't matter to them either how long they're here for. They are thriving in their moment. And that is just so fulfilling. It's definitely more fulfilling than redoing someone's home.
Yes. Yeah. So you've also been a magazine editor for a while, and you do have a new edition out. What brought you to doing not only coaching, but you're also promoting, a magazine and doing into editing and sharing the word through other platforms?
Well, that's a really good question. Some of the coaches that I work with, I'm always lecturing people stay in their lane. I stay in my lane. I'm a mindset coach. If you came to me and told me you were working with depression, yes, that's in the mind. It starts there, but that isn't something I work with. And so I want to find you a coach, right? Or someone that you can work with that's their specialty. And so I started meeting other experts in the field that were influencers, that had books, that had a lot of success in their practices. And I started collaborating with them and sending them my clients, because I built this huge following and I stayed in my lane. And so someone came to me and said, I'm having trouble having a baby. Can you help? Nope, but I can help you find somebody. And I started asking them to write these great articles for my blogging site, because I feel like free education is the best thing that we have. It's a great introduction to the coach that you're working with. You see a little bit about how they think, how they practice, you know a little bit about them. And they started writing on the blogging page. And then it grew so big to where we had 1 million hits on it 1 month. And it was like unbelievable. It's only been out a little over a year. And I wanted to do more than that. So then I created another platform, which was a magazine that goes out digitally. This is our 3rd issue. We only do it every season. And it literally has over 100,000 subscribers now. And I'm so proud of it. We just let it in hard copy. So you can go to Amazon now and get the Best Holistic Life magazine. But my favorite is the free digital copy. And let me tell you why. I'm a global influencer, and it's really hard to ask Amazon to send you a magazine. And even if you did that and you lived in India or you lived in Tokyo and you got this magazine, how do you push those great links, right? And get to all that juicy stuff inside of it. But if you just go and grab it for free on the internet, you get to read all the articles, you get to interact with all those links. So if you're listening to Keela, for instance, talk about infertility, you can click right into all her information. And so I love the digital one, but because I had such a cry for it, I finally went ahead and did a printed copy this time.
Yeah, well, it's a beautiful magazine, and you're right. Like you do, people like looking at a hard piece of paper, and there's something about it, and the pictures are high resolution. They sit on your coffee stand. Like it's good to like flip through. I still, from time to time, still like real magazines, just because I think they have a little bit of longevity of being around. So maybe they're not just top of mind for a month or two, but for a long. I mean, we probably have magazines are like 2 or 3 years old sometimes. Like hanging out, you're like, oh, that's a little old. But anyways, what I liked about what you talked regarding staying in your lane and connecting your clients with other clients, like a lot of times people are approached and say, hey, you're a mindset coach, I'm struggling with this, and we feel maybe an obligation, not an obligation, but like, hey, I want to help this person, what can I do to help them? Like me, I'll help them. And you're not the right fit for that typical problem, but you're worried about like, am I turning a customer away that I know that I could help? But you're referring them to the experts or whatever they are, and that builds up, and you're building this network of very like-minded stuff. And there's probably some overlap of people that do similar stuff that what you do, and you're doing similar stuff to them, but they're the experts. And the small play would be like, hey, try to keep everybody close and within my circle. But the long play, the bigger way to make a bigger impact is connect all these people to all of these other experts and their message. And when you share all that knowledge with everybody, then it tends to kind of circle back into your life, more than if you would have just not done that. That's been my experience. How did you go about fostering these relationships with the people that you were referring business to?
When I was first working as a coach online, I was working with a girl who needed a fertility help. And here's the thing, she got pregnant multiple times, but she couldn't carry that baby to full term. And so she was desperate to have a baby with her husband. He was in the military, he's a Marine. And when I told her, there's nothing I can do to help you, I'm not a fertility coach, go online and start looking for the right fit for you. Well, she called me a month later and tells me that she was so excited that she met the right coach. She was going to get pregnant in the next 30 days. He promised her this, and she was having a boy. And all these red flags were going off. And her and I were having a Zoom talk, and I was looking right at her face, just like you and I are looking at each other now. And I saw her beaming. And I had to ask those questions. What is it? Did you tell him that you can get pregnant? He didn't ask. Did you, red flag. Mm-hmm. And it turns out he sold her a product. He sold her some supplements that he told her if she took them for 30 days, she would get pregnant and she was going to have a boy. And he built up on her desperation, her fears, her need. And when I had to tell her, can you get your money back? They might be great supplements, by the way, and they might be good for you, but you will not get pregnant because of those supplements. And I had to tell her that he was what I call product pusher, because there's a lot of them online and there's no harm or foul in that, right? But just be honest with what you're doing and not take advantage. And she literally broke online, and there's nothing I could do. I was on the other side of the computer. I couldn't comfort her. I just had to let her cry it out. And then I was so moved to help her find somebody because she was so desperate. And so I went out looking for her a fertility coach, and she now has a baby. He's a year old. And I'm just so excited that she found somebody she could work with that was a real expert, that asked the right questions. So you can't, where else in the world can I sit at my computer or on my phone and let my fingers do that searching and literally stretch out all over the globe and find the right expert? That is such a blessing. With that blessing comes a curse. Buyer beware, right? Buyer beware, because it's saturated market. And now that COVID's hit, everybody wants a piece of that online pie. Mm-hmm. And so there's millions of people out there. Ask the right questions, make them work for you. Get involved in who they've been working with and ask, can I speak to one of your clients that you've worked with? Because I will be really honest. When I first started, my testimonials were from close friends and family, but they were true, but they were from close friends and family, right? What were they going to say about me? So I think it's really important that you don't just take the testimonials. Say, is there someone I could speak to that you've had really good success with? And get out there and do your research, buyer beware, because there are amazing experts out there. Or you can come to me, and I know a ton of them now. Yeah. And I will connect you with them.
That is important, that if you're referring people, that you want to make sure the referrals are important and they're good ones. They're not just this is somebody that lives down the street from me and I think they're in the business, so I'm going to refer them to you. You don't know if they're the right fit. And this might be contrary to some networking experts or groups will say you should always just have one person that you refer. And let's say the fertility doctor, okay, well, why would you only have one if you're in this group of people? Because what if they don't relate to that person? I always think you want to have 2 or 3 really qualified people that are in this space that you can refer people to, because you go, hey, this person might be the right fit for you, but there might not be. But the person that might be the right fit for you might not be the right fit for this other person. So if you have 2 or 3, it helps somebody have a little bit of choice to get somebody that works for them. And it's not well, you gave me somebody and I didn't really like them and XYZ, and they weren't that way when I was there, but I kind of get along with that personality. Maybe you don't, but I find that you can get in a lot of bad trouble if you're not vetting your referrals, and if you're sending bad ones, it's going to turn out to be poor for both you, your person referring it to, maybe the person that got the business would be all right. But for me, I like what you said with vet them out, have good quality leads, and I like that you showed compassion, and it was so important to you to help find a fertility doctor for your friend specialist, because you didn't want to just leave her to the wolves to fend for herself, and I think that shows a lot of compassion that you're going to do that for anybody that works with you, and anybody that you're referring to is going to have that same level of like, hey, Jana's not going to just refer anybody. She's going to go out of her way to find out somebody that's going to really do their good job and help me out with my problems.
100%. I think that it's really important that people understand there are really good people out there. And when you become a doctor, you have to take that oath, right? First, do no harm. But I promise you, 98% of the people online don't understand that oath. And it's not even that it's coming from a bad place. They may, like, as a mindset coach, maybe I really want to help someone with depression. And if they just reframe it and start looking at the positive, the truth of the matter is I am not the right fit for them. And I know this because it could be a chemical imbalance. It could be something that's so deep and dark that if I just keep telling them, just change your mindset, get positive, you're empowered, you have control, they're going to feel like they're failing, which is going to build on top of that depression. And they could cause harm to themselves because they feel like they can't ever get well. So it's so much better. I'm telling you, it comes back 100 times fold when you just extend them. Like, look, I am not the right fit for you, but I know some people who might be. Let's connect you and reach out to them and connect them.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about one other thing. You have a podcast, Oh My Health, There's Hope. What is the podcast about? I mean, obviously it's about health and hope, but maybe a little bit more detail on the topics you bring up and what you share with your audience.
So I was asked to write a book, and I was going to call it Oh My Health, There's Hope. And I started writing it. I don't know if it's just hard when you're writing a book. Let me tell you, if you're not a writer, I spent weeks and I was laughing, crying, and getting it all out there. I had like 2 paragraphs. They're not paragraphs, but chapters. I could not fill a book. But as I'm talking to all my coaches that I work with, I always ask them, what's your story? Why do you do what you did? I'm sure you weren't a little girl thinking, I'm going to be a fertility expert. No, something happened in your life that pivoted you in that direction. Their stories were so powerful that I combined them in a book, which became a new release bestseller on Amazon. But before the book was even released, and I was hearing these stories, I wanted to get those stories out into the world. Because there are people right now sitting at home or at work, and they feel like, especially with COVID going on, it's unusual. It's uncharted territory for anybody. And so you really aren't handling it wrong because we don't know how to handle it yet. And they're struggling. And I want them to know there's hope. And maybe one of those stories, you're going to really relate to it. We have people who talk about their business challenges, their health challenges, their marriage challenges. And right when they thought there was no hope, or they were told there was no hope and it was over, you're done, something magical happened in their journey. And they were right where they were supposed to be. All that struggle they went through was right what they needed to become what they are now, which is pretty dang incredible. And so I want people to hear those stories of hope all over the world, because I want them to know that there's hope for you. If there's breath in your lungs, there's hope for you. So I don't want anyone to be, I was there. I was hopeless when I was sent home and told you're dying. I was terrified. I would have gone with one of those product pushers if they said, hey, I'm going to sell you some chicken poo. It's fresh. Just rub it on your face, sleep in it for 3 days. I would have tried it because I did not want to die. And so I know there's a lot of you that are scared and desperate and feel like you have no hope. And I hope that you find a story on there that you resonate with, that you see that we were just like every one of you. And we found like joy in our lives, and we're thriving through that challenge we went through.
Yeah. So I think that plays into just like your magazine and your referrals of your experts that you can refer your clients to get their problems help worked on. The podcast is another extension of that, where you're connecting people with different stories. And one thing I think is, when I've shared stuff about myself personally that I didn't think was that big a deal, people would come out and say, wow, I really resonated with that, and I feel like I'm not the only one all of a sudden that has this problem and this challenge. And you go, well, shoot, if I feel like that, then there must be somebody else that feels like that. So to me, I always encourage people, like, share your story. It may not feel that interesting because you've like lived every part of it. But when you tell your story of like, hey, here's where I struggled, here's what I learned, here's what I overcame, and this is where I'm going, you might resonate with somebody that really needs to hear that message at that one point. And back to you staying in the lane, like, you're also, not only are you just saying, like, you have an amazing story of an epiphany where it says, hey, I'm going to change my mindset, and I'm going to be determined to live my life as long as possible and make memories. That story might not relate to everybody else. It might relate to some people, but not others. But you're reaching out and finding other people with amazing stories so you can connect with more people and say, here's another amazing story that I think you'll relate to. And if you get a chance to impact somebody's life for the better, I think that's really your duty in life, is to share your gifts. And if your gift is staying in your lane and connecting people with the right people, you're on a mission to help as many people as you possible. And it's amazing what you're up to, for sure.
I am. I really believe everything we do or say, regardless if we think someone's listening or not, definitely puts a ripple effect out into the world. And if I leave here, I'm going to take some really great memories, but I'm going to make sure I leave some behind too.
Yes, for sure. So let me ask you a question that I always ask towards the end of the show, which is, what does it mean to you to be all in on an idea or an outcome?
So I got to tell you, my mom raised a bunch of girls, and we have a sister that we call All In Lori. Because we are that way. We're jumpers. We don't toe test. We're like, oh, I think I might do this, but let me do 12 years of research before I get there. We're like, we don't even know there's not a road to it, and we're building the road, right? We just jump in because we follow our passion, we follow our intuitiveness, and we don't let anyone stop us, because actually the only person that can stop you from doing it is you. So for me, all in is just what we've always done. We wanted to do something. We asked our mom to do it. She'd be like, figure it out, do it. And we figured it out and did it. So we come from a group of, we call it all in sisters. But we're always all in. And by the way, there's a good and a bad side to it, right? Sometimes if you go all in, like you jump head first into a lake and you don't know how to swim, that could be a problem. But we probably would have done that. It's probably how we learned how to swim, by the way, is just jumping in and figuring it out. But the people who just keep toe testing, they never figure it out either. It just never happens for them. And so there's probably that sweet spot between being all in and being a toe tester. And if you ever figure it out, let me know. Because right now I just dive in always. If my heart tells me to do something, plus it's part of me knows I only have so much time on this earth. I'm aware of that now. And I am not going to wait. If something's inspiring me and pulling at me to do it, I just always go 100% all in. And it's worked out pretty well for me. I have not drowned yet.
Well, that's fantastic. I hear you on that. Like, I've been that way a lot of my life, where you're just like, I think I got enough information. Like, I'm just running full speed ahead. And there's times where you're like, maybe I should have been a little slower. Like, maybe I should have sat on that idea like another day or another hour before I just kind of like jumped over it, shipped it, But I do believe, like you said, though, if you're always testing the waters and you're not really to put yourself out there, you're not really to see what life can experience, you're going to play it safe, you're going to play it small, and you're not going to live up to what your potential should be. So I do encourage people to jump off that cliff, if that's what it is, the proverbial cliff. Maybe it's a real high cliff in your case, and others people it might just be slightly higher than what they're accustomed to, but we make little steps, gradual steps up, and get better at testing our boundaries. So awesome stuff. So you have a lot going on: coaching, podcast, magazine. Who is your ideal person you're looking to get connected to and get your message in front of?
So I call them avatars. And I know them very well. If my avatar was in a crowd of 100 people talking, I would hear their voice because I'm tuning into it. And I'd be like, oh, that he's looking for me. I got to go talk to him. So the person I look for mostly, I'm looking for really good experts in the health and wellness business. I work with people in health and wellness, and I want to create global influencers out of them. But here's the thing. They have to want to be an influencer for the right reason. It's not about getting popularity, building thousands of followers. It's about getting your message out to as many people as possible. Because if you are the very best at what you do, and the people that I work with, they're the very best at what they do. If nobody knows who you are you helping? And so it's a really saturated place online. And I want to give them platforms like getting them in magazines and on podcasts and their name out so much that they are seen, and pretty soon people are asking about them. There's this buzz and feel around them. And that my perfect client is someone who is an expert in their field and has a great rapport with their clients, but they just cannot be seen online because it is so saturated. And when you were talking about being all in, let me tell you, if you're building an online business and you hesitate and toe test for just 1 second, somebody else has already beat you there, and you're always going to be behind. So if you feel it and you're like, oh, that's a great idea, I haven't seen that, do it. Make your mistakes on the way. It's totally fine. You can, unless you're killing somebody on the way. But other than that, everything else can be fixed.
Yeah. And what you really identified, like a lot of people don't realize how important it is to really dive deep on who that person is you're trying to connect. And you pointed out, like in a room of 100 people, I can hear their voice and I know what they're talking about, and you can find them. And it's like, you have to be at that level of detail, that it's not like, oh, I'm going into a room of 100 people, like, woohoo, I'm going to meet all these people, to go, I'm here, I'll meet some people, but I'm really listening for that one particular voice. And that's the person that's just going to like latch on, love the message, and really connect with you at a real deep level. And I think if you're getting started, you want to dive deep and find that person. I'm sure you've helped people find that person of the avatar that they're looking to connect with too.
That's the first thing I do with my clients, is have them work on their avatar, because when they come to me, anyone that breathes, I can help anyone that breathes. If they have blood, they're my client, but they're not, right? And it's kind of like feeding the pigeons, and you throw seed out there and pretty soon they just jump on you and suck your energy, and you're not really helping them because they weren't your client. But if you know your avatar and you laid that seed trail right to the door that they need to go knocking on, it is so much nicer. And it really, you think you're shutting out the world, but you really opened up the world to those as an expert. They see you now as an expert in that field.
Yes, for sure. Awesome. So where should people go if they want to get connected with you?
They can go to janashort.com. That's my website. You can grab my free offers. You can grab a free copy of the magazine there. And they can find the podcast at Oh My Health, There Is Hope. And I'll tell you guys a little trick that you can use for Nate. If you go to your Siri and you say, hey, Siri, mine's going to pick up. And you talk to your Siri and you tell them to subscribe to Jana Short, it will subscribe you right to my podcast. It'll do the same for your podcast. It's so cool.
Awesome. I didn't know that.
They just have to say your name in it.
That's a cool little trick. That's fantastic. Appreciate it.
It will.
Well, I will, all those links, they'll be in the show notes, so you can reach out and connect with Jana. And when you do, say hi, tell her where you found her, say you heard her on the All In podcast, let her know what she's up to. And if you're that ideal client, like for some way, somehow, you probably found this podcast, like, and now you're like, I got to get connected. So reach out, say hello, and we'll take it from there. So awesome. So glad we were able to chat for a few, and looking forward to staying connected with you as well.
Thank you so much. And you're going to find Nate's podcast in our magazine because he was one of our summer favorites.
I know. That was awesome. It was such a good magazine too. I was like, oh my God, there's so many amazing stories in here and just a wealth of knowledge. So that magazine in itself is a tremendous resource. So, okay, cool.
Make sure to visit our website, therealnatepeo.com, where you can subscribe to the show on iTunes. so you'll never miss an episode of All In. While you're at it, if you found value, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes. Or if simply tell 2 friends about the show. Looking to connect? You can find Nate Peo on LinkedIn or Instagram